Hi everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today we have a special guest from Adobe. This is Sharad. He is a product manager from Adobe for Adobe's Photoshop Lightroom software. Welcome.
Thank you.
And what he has come to share with us today is a little bit more information about Adobe Photoshop Lightroom 4. That's the newest version that has come out. Lightroom's been out for a little while now, but it has some new features as well as a fantastic new price point. So let's get right into it with some Q&A first before we go over a demo. And the first question that we have is, well, for those who are not familiar, what is Lightroom?
So Lightroom it's software that basically takes your images and it allows you to organize them, you can perfect them, and then you can share them out. So it's an end-to-end solution that we think solves a problem that a lot of photographers have, which is, I've taken a lot of pictures, what do I do with them next?
Now a lot of folks out there, including myself, are familiar with Photoshop, a fantastic photo editing program from Adobe. How would you compare the two, Photoshop and Lightroom?
So the main differences between Photoshop and Lightroom is that in Lightroom you have the opportunity to organize your photos, develop them, and share them. In Photoshop, that's really a development engine. And so in Lightroom you can make changes that in a very simple way, but then when you want to, you can bring them into Photoshop and get really detailed and get down to the pixel level. So we think they work well together, and so that's why it's Photoshop Lightroom, because Lightroom is really developed with the same processing engine that goes into Photoshop.
Now if I already have Photoshop, will I get additional benefits from also using Lightroom?
Absolutely, absolutely. So as I had mentioned, in Lightroom you can organize your photos. So we think that's a really powerful thing, and it's something that a lot of photographers really struggle with. As you take more pictures, what do you do with them? How can you find that one picture that you're looking for? How can you organize them? So that's where Lightroom really shines. You can develop them. You can start them in Lightroom, and then if you want to, you can bring them into Photoshop really easily. The two products are very integrated to make it really easy for you to use both. And then once you're done developing them, you really want to share them out. And now in Lightroom, you can create photo books, you can share them to the web, you can print them, you can post them up on your Facebook page. There's a lot of options that you can do in terms of sharing. So we think that Lightroom and Photoshop really work well together, and it's a great combination.
Now, since you mentioned those three aspects of Lightroom, let's use those moving on into our demonstration here. So we have organization features. So if you have all of your photos, you've imported them, copied them onto your computer, you can organize them effectively, and then you can use the development tools to perfect them and do all sorts of adjustments and that sort of thing, non-destructive.
Yes,
of course, very key. And then sharing them, of course, to share them with your friends and that sort of thing. So I think this is the library that you have set up right here?
Yes. So this is the library module, and this is when you import your photos, this is where they show up. So let's take this picture, for example. This is a cable car, so you know, if I wanted to, I could tag that as cable car. I could tag it as it's red. It's also white. It has a number on it. You know, the possibilities are kind of endless in how you would want to organize it. So then when I go back later, I can say, okay, I want all my pictures that are primarily red. I can search for them because I've tagged them.
So whether you're using this for personal use, where you're tagging, you know, locations you've been or friends that the photos are with, or whether you do like content creation or development, that sort of thing, and you want photos that fit within a specific category, color-wise,
texture-wise, content-wise.
When you're creating the tags there, well, I've already seen you doing multiple tags.
Sure.
Can you also, for example, take a bunch of those tags, like if all the photos are taken in the same location, apply those tags to a whole group of photos?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. It's a good thing that you actually mentioned location. So that's something that's new in Lightroom 4, is to be able to do that. So we've got something new called the Map module, and this is on a Google Map. And images that you are taking, that you take with either a smartphone or with a GPS-enabled camera, are automatically tagged with that location. So that makes it a lot easier to find your pictures, say.
And Lightroom can read that, the metadata from the photo?
Yes, absolutely. So we plop it right onto a Google map, and that makes it really easy to say, oh, like, you know, which pictures did I take in San Francisco? Or which pictures did I take in the United Kingdom, for example? So that's one way of doing it. Another way, and that takes no work, it's already done for you. Another way is if I have this image, which was taken at the Golden Gate Bridge, but it wasn't tagged with the location. If I want to be able to find this later really easily, I would just search for the Golden Gate Bridge, And I don't think it was actually taken right there, but I can just plop it onto the map. And now it's tagged.
Very nice.
We think this is going to be a really fun and easy way to organize your photos in a different way, which is just going to make it only easier to find your photos later when you're looking for them.
Now, not to get too far ahead of us, because I know we're going to go over sharing in the future, but I'm imagining that the map feature, can you also tie that into sharing so you can automatically show, for example, if you want to share the photos publicly, people can access those?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of privacy features built in, so you can tag photos as either being private or public.
Okay.
And if their tag is being private, then the location is not shared when you share them out of Lightroom.
Next up, should we move on to development features, what you can do as far as the post-production to adjust your photos?
Absolutely. So we have something called the Develop module, which has a number of features that'll help you get the best out of each image. So taking this picture right here, the first thing that I notice is that the sky is just way too bright, right? So what I would do is I would just take this highlight adjustment tool and I would just pull it to the left. And you'll notice that even though the sky is now kind of reflected more of what I saw when I took the picture, it didn't touch any of the foreground, which is really dark, these rocks. So next I would want to probably bring a little detail out of the rocks.
Oh, nice.
So I just,
right down here.
Exactly. So now you can see all of this detail that we captured is here. And it didn't really play with any of the highlights. Probably want to just bump the exposure down a little bit and then give it a little bit more pop. And there, with 4 mouse clicks, I've taken an interesting picture, but one that wasn't that great, and made it pop. And
I like that you can actively adjust, for instance, the highlights or the shadows, and you don't have to worry about masking off a certain area or something like that.
Exactly, exactly.
Very nice. Are there any other adjustment features, photo filters, that sort of thing you can do?
So one of the things that you can do is, if I really like this look, I can come over here and I can save it as a preset.
Oh, nice.
And a preset is just it's a collection of adjustments that you've made. So I'm going to save that as my San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge preset. And if I want to, all I would have to do is just click on that when I'm looking at another image, and it'll apply the same adjustments to that image.
And going back to what we talked about at the beginning, all of these edits are non-destructive. So the original image is saved in its original state.
Absolutely.
And then when you make these adjustments in Lightroom, it will actually save that to a separate file that will open up and then apply to that image as well.
It'll create another file that sits next to the original image.
Okay.
So the original image is never touched.
Very nice.
If you look at the image within Lightroom, Lightroom will look at the other file as a set of instructions, and it'll apply those instructions to the image just on the screen, and it doesn't get baked in until you export it as like a JPEG, for example.
Okay. I see you also have your history over here for different actions that you've made.
Absolutely. So I can go back at any point and say, okay, what did it look like when I made this contrast adjustment, for example? One thing that you can also do is, if I like the way that this looks, I can create a snapshot, which just saves a copy of the image and time. So I've created that. Now let me, say I want to make this black and white, and just see how that looks.
Okay.
So this is just another way to kind of get more creative with the image, so that you can try different things, and it's non-destructive, so you're not really changing anything.
So as you're making those adjustments, if you want to jump back to something you had done earlier, you can easily compare between the two.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now you mentioned at first when you showed up, because we were talking about video, that's what we do a lot of here, that Lightroom actually also has some video features as well as the photo features. Can you share a little bit about those with us?
Sure, yeah. So in Lightroom 4, for the first time, you have the ability to actually play. In addition to organize, you can play and make edits to videos. So we're pretty excited about this. So this is a video that was taken when we were at a photo shoot. And it was really designed to solve one big challenge, which was a lot of photographers that take videos, they spend a lot of time on their photos. They make their photos look beautiful. But then when you look at the video, it looks kind of flat because they haven't spent the time color correcting it or making any adjustments. It just looks exactly how it looked in the camera.
Mm.
And so, we spent the time and energy to kind of fix that issue for them. So, with this video, so you can play it. You can set the start and the end point of the video. I know when I take videos, the first 5 seconds is always fumbling with the camera. And
yeah, we
that's kind of
usually throw that away.
So yeah, exactly. So you can easily kind of set that. You can capture a poster frame. So let's say this is exactly the shot that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So you can capture that, and it saves as a JPEG right next to the video. So again, it keeps it really organized. You can also set the poster frame so that when you're looking at your videos in the film strip, this shot probably represents exactly the essence of the video.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do that I think is really, really interesting is that you can apply presets. And so if I wanted to turn this to Sienna type, I can do that.
Oh, wow.
And it does it right on the fly, and it's non-destructive.
So again, just like the photos, you can do all these. You can play around with all of your color composition and everything for the video.
Mm-hmm.
Your original video file is still intact, and then you also have the option, I imagine, after you're finished making your adjustments, to save this as a separate file?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
You can save it as an H.264 file or as a DPX video that you want to bring into another editing application.
Very nice.
And you can hit the reset button
Oh,
to bring it back to your original file.
So now, you mentioned the snapshot you can take down here. It saves it as a JPEG. If you wanted to pull that aside separately, make a bunch of adjustments to that,
Mm-hmm.
Can you then take those adjustments and apply it to the entire video?
Absolutely. So you could bring this into the develop module, and you could make adjustments, and then you could save that as a preset, and then just apply that preset to your video.
Very nice.
So
now we've talked about organizing your photos, using the library, developing your photos with the development module. Let's move on to the sharing modules. We have the book, slideshow, print, and web up there. So how do those work?
Sure. So in previous versions of Lightroom, you were able to bring a photo or a series of photos into a slideshow and set it to music. So you could, kind of create your own layouts and have it to turn it into a movie,
Mm-hmm.
a series of images. Print was, really designed to get the quality of your image and reproduce that on a printed medium. And web, you could create great web galleries to upload to your own website, which are, both commercial photographers and consumers really use that a lot to kind of make their images pop. So in Lightroom 4, for the first time, you have the ability to create printed photo books directly from Lightroom.
Okay.
So you do that within the book module. By clicking the auto layout button, you quickly have a starting point to go through and make changes. So, let's say I want 2 photos with text. I can go in there and very quickly make those changes. And it allows you to be really creative because you have a starting point to actually launch that creativity from.
So that auto layout kind of takes you from a set of blank pages, drops in a bunch of photos from the library that you've selected, and then sort of gives you a starting off point to go from there. And
Exactly. We think it just kind of frees you up a little bit more to actually get the book that you want.
Feels like you've got a lot of work done all of a sudden. Just
with one click, exactly. Yeah. And the thing that we think is really important is that you can take this image back into the develop module and make changes, and those changes are going to be applied to your book.
Okay.
So it's really great to be able to go back and forth because sometimes your images aren't quite ready to be printed. And so you can see how it looks on the book, then you can bring it back into develop, and then you can go back into book. So we think that ability to jump back and forth between the develop and the book modules is a really important thing when you're in the process of creating a book. Once you've laid out your book and created it, there's 2 options. You can either save it as a PDF file, or you can export it to a company called Blurb, which is based in San Francisco.
Okay.
And they'll print, bind, and ship it to you.
Oh, very nice.
So, as you're going out and going through and creating the book, you get an estimated price of the book.
Okay.
So that you don't spend a lot of time and all of a sudden see that your book is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So you can kind of keep it, and you have different options on the size, the cover, the type of paper that you use. All of that you can do from within Lightroom.
Awesome. And that's all tied in, so you just set it all up and...
You just hit the send book to Blurb, log into your Blurb account, and it's all taken care of.
Perfect. Well, Sharad, I think that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for stopping by and sharing all of the awesome features of Adobe Photoshop Lightroom 4.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
And if folks wanted to learn a little bit more about this, I know there's more features if you want to dig a little bit deeper down. Do you guys have a website where they can go for that?
We do, yeah. You can go to adobe.com and you can learn more about the product, or you can download a 30-day trial so that you can actually install it on your own machine and play with it.
Awesome. So adobe.com if you guys want to try out the trial of Lightroom 4. Of course, head over to newegg.com if you want to purchase this software. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. This has been Sharad. He is the product manager for Adobe Photoshop Lightroom 4. Thanks again for stopping by. Thanks all of you for watching, and we'll see you all next time on Newegg TV.